You know, one of the stories you share that was really touching early on, right after John Benet was murdered, you didn't go back into the house, but there was a family member that went back into the house. And as she was getting clothes for you guys and for Burke, and she went into John Benet's room, and for whatever reason, there was one little item that she just felt like she needed to bring to you and to Patsy. Tell us about that.
Well, that had huge impact on my life. John Benet had won this little medal about 5 days before, a talent award, and I'd always talk to her about, you know, your talents. If you're going to do these little pageants, you know, work on your talent. Doesn't matter if you're the prettiest or have the prettiest smile. And she would always, that was kind of our deal, you know.
Yeah.
And so she won this little medal, and she came running up to me with it, put it around my neck, said, "Daddy, I won this for you." And I was really touched that she would even share it with me. And then, of course, 5 days later, she was gone. And in my mind, I thought, I want to get that medal. I want to get that medal. Didn't tell anybody.
You didn't tell anyone?
Didn't tell a soul. But I just thought, someday I want to get that medal. That's the one thing of John Benet's that I have. My sister-in-law, Pam, went back to the home 3 days after her murder to get some clothes for us. Came back to where we were staying and said, "John, I just had this overwhelming feeling that I needed to go to John Benet's room." She had to go through police tape and bring you this.
There it is, right there.
And she opened her hand, and this medal was in her palm, and I just burst into tears. But they were tears of joy, because to me it was just a message to me that, "Daddy, I'm okay."
Wow.
And you carry that around with you everywhere, don't you?
I do. Hasn't left my possession ever since.
Amazing.
But it was a touch from heaven, and that's how I viewed it. I just all of a sudden I realized that was a little message to me that, "Daddy, I'm okay."
Well, our special guest is John Ramsey in his new book entitled The Other Side of Suffering. It's available wherever books are sold, or of course you can go online to Amazon.com. I can wholeheartedly recommend it. I read every word, and so did Joni, and we both read it in just a few days. And in fact, she was reading it first, and it was the only copy they had, and said, "I want to read it, I want to read it, I want to read it." I told the staff, and they went and got me a copy, and so every night before I'd go to bed, I'd read about 25 or 30 pages, and it was really, really tremendous. John, we've only got just a moment. You and I were talking during the song. What are just some of the simple things that somebody can do when they have a friend or a family member that has suffered great loss?
Well, the biggest thing, as you said earlier, was just be there. A hug counts for everything. You don't have to say a word. In fact, C.S. Lewis put it pretty well. He said, when he lost his wife, he said, "I love having people around me. I just wish they would talk to each other and not to me."
Wow.
And so just be there for your friends. Don't worry about saying anything profound, or just give them a hug and be there.
Joni?
You know, I wonder, in fact, I was going to ask that same question. What about the forgiveness part?
I spent a lot of time thinking about forgiveness.
Yeah.
And I went through several stages of how I should feel. Of course, the first one was, I can't do that. I can't forgive. But I ended up at a point where I realized that forgiveness was a gift I gave myself. I released that anger and that desire for revenge and to get even. Didn't matter if the person wanted to be forgiven, even knew they would be forgiven.
Yeah.
It was a gift I gave myself.
Yes.
And it was a release, and I could move on.
Here is someone from Maine actually watching right now, and Lydia, she said, "I just want you to know, John Ramsey, we love you and we are for you." I know that's got to encourage you.
Very encouraging.
And here's someone watching from New Hampshire asking us to please pray. They have lost 3 out of 4 of their children.
Wow.
I have met people, I don't know how they do it, and that's a horrible loss to deal with as a parent.
Yes. And here's someone, Sarah from McKeesport, Pennsylvania, saying, any leads on who committed this crime or any closer to solving it?
Well, I don't know for sure. Lou Smith worked very hard on it, literally up to his death. I visited him in hospice, and he was reciting off things to be done in the case.
And you spoke at his memorial service.
I was honored to speak at his funeral service. He was a great man.
So you're not really putting all your focus on, you know, we must find the killer.
No.
You've kind of put that in the hands of the Lord.
It's in God's hands, and told a friend once, I said, you know, we've been praying for years that God would reveal the killer, and he hasn't done so yet. And my friend said, maybe you're not ready for that yet. I thought, you're probably right.
But I do want to clarify, I know you mentioned earlier, but the DNA evidence that was found, there were, I guess, two parts of it.
Well, let's just say it this way. 2008, the District Attorney's Office of Boulder, Colorado, through scientific DNA evidence, 100% exonerated and cleared John, Patsy, and Burke Ramsey of any involvement in the murder of John Benet Ramsey.
And,
So
but
they were scientifically and legally cleared.
But there was DNA evidence that was found on two different pieces of material.
Yes. And then
with John Benet.
Yes, and that was sort of ignored in the beginning, sadly. And then as DNA technology evolved, they were able to apply that and recover more samples in other areas of the crime scene and their clothing, all consistent with one another. And that gave the district attorney, I forget the exact word she used, but the ability to say without doubt that this is what happened. She also apologized, which is a wonderful thing for her to do.
Yes, she did.
You know, psychologists say the greatest loss a human being could ever go through is the loss of a small child. It is the #1 most difficult thing. But God will help you, and if you've gone through that loss, I'm so sorry. I have not experienced that, so I don't know what that would be like, except I know it would just have to be so terrible. But if God can help John Ramsey, he can help you. Again, get the book, The Other Side of Suffering. It's in bookstores now.